Okay, yeah. So okay, let's just have a recap of the last class so understand that we're on the same page. Um, okay, Jennifer, I'll start with you. Or rather, let me start with Obi. I'll go the way it is on my screen here. Ada Oma, please could you explain to us what you understand by data types in Java? Just anyhow you understand it, how good you understand it, just let us know. Adama, yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you. You have any idea? A recap from the last class. Any idea? Mm. All right, I think that's an idea. That's an idea. It's having to do with byte. Byte is also a data type, but it won't be. We are not going to be using it in Java. We're not going to be. So, Bukola, please, do you have any idea what data types are in Java? Do you have any? I don't know. It's echoing loudly in your background. Do you have any idea? Huh? Okay, it's better now. I think. Okay, I think it's. Yeah, it's better now. Much better. Yeah, just tell us what data types are. Data types. What are they in Java? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Oh, that's correct. Yeah, those are the major examples of data types we have. Precisely, those ones are the primitive data types. So what I mean by primitive is, yeah, you can mute yourself now. It's too loud. So what I mean by the primitive is that they are from. Anyway, Jennifer, give us idea what you know about data type before I say what I have to say. Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon. Okay, yeah, that's correct. That's actually correct. So we have they're classified into two: the primitive and non-primitive. So data type basically is a way data are represented in programming. You say we have primitive and non-primitive. Yeah, that's correct. So primitives are those ones from which every other data types come out from. You get so the primitive data types include the ones you guys already mentioned earlier: the floats, the integer, the characters, the double boolean, and the rest of them, short, long, and the rest of them. So I don't know from the assignments. Okay, some did it quite very well, but some didn't. I don't know if it's because they didn't understand the question. Well, from the answers, I expected that some of you should have done something better in the assignment, but that's not the problem anyway. So it's essential that you understand what these data types are, because throughout your programming life, you'll be making use of it. And then the other, I didn't mention the other types. Then there are the non-primitive data types. So those are basically derived from the primitive ones. Those that includes the string and objects, basically objects. So we get to understand what objects are and how they are created. How they are created. So you know that when you are being introduced into classes. So classes in Java. If you have time, you can go and read about classes in Java. So you know what class is. Class, I just dropped it in the chat. Just class. So you understand what, because everything you're doing in object-oriented programming and Java, it will be based on class. What class is, how classes work, and every other thing surrounding that. So essentially, you understand all of these things at this starting level. At this starting level, and then the syntax, how to write your syntax. So I would share my screen, but not now. Let's just be talking. So you understand how the syntax works, because if to start with you don't even write your syntax correctly, your code will not compile. You'll be getting errors. That's why you have. That's why you're not using text. You're not using something like Notepad to write your code. You know, Notepad is an alternative where you can write your Java code and compile it. Even Word, your Word document, you can write your code there and then compile it using the command line. When I say command line, I mean that's your terminal. But we'll not be doing that because you already have programs like the IntelliJ that will show you syntax when there's syntax error, when there's any error anywhere. So it tells you if your code will compile or not. So if you have to use your notepad and just do your code, it won't be quite clear where the error is coming from. So that's why we are advised to be using. So basically, that's why we're using text editors like IntelliJ. So IntelliJ is called a text editor, but more correct is to call it an integrated development environment, because it comes with everything that you need to build an application. Basically, it helps you configure things easily. So that's what integrated development environment is. That's IDE. So just play around with your IntelliJ when you have the time. When you have the time, always just every day of your life you have to be programming, no matter how small the amount you put into it is. No matter how small the amount. I say this because it's important. Otherwise, at some point you start fading away and start losing interest. So it's important you try to code at least. You check your schedule, know what works best for you. Say that this amount of time I have to write code before today runs out. Be it 1 hour, be it 30 minutes. Just do something before the day runs out. But if you have the time, you're expected to write more than the time I've said. So just try to spend a good amount of time on code as much as you can. So this the way to go about is to plan your day before you. I'm not here to talk about planning your day now or motivational speaker, but this is one way to achieve the task of you writing some lines of code every day. At least for the first few months of your programming life, you should just stick to that particular plan of you establishing some lines of code and running it before the day runs out. Now, it's possible that some of you have not even looked through the code that we did from the last classes. And it's possible that I think your last class, you didn't explicitly write code. It was more or less oral class. So it's possible that some of you didn't even uh, check out anything new concerning Java. Now, that's not the best practice. So, so I will indulge all of us to for those, even if you don't have classes, just try and do something. Try and do something on Java. So so syntax is one thing you should always look out for. It's normal for a beginner to always have syntax error. Even if you become a professional, even if you become good, you're still going to be having syntax error. Is normal. It's normal. It's basic. but with effort you get used to it. All right, that's fine. So together with what we did in last class, we just be going over what we did in last class. We already talked about it, and you're going to be having a refresh on that. We'll go through that again because some of you didn't quite understand it, and not all of you are here. That's not a good news, but make do what we have. And then after that, we go through what variables are and and packages in Java. So so I think I should just share my screen. I should share my screen. 1 second. All right. You can see my screen. All right. I guess it's clear now. Please, if it's too tiring for you, let me know. Maybe I should just okay. Let me not go to the last program we did last class. So everything will be starting afresh. Everything will be starting afresh. So from the last class, we spoke about the primitive. So Jennifer, I don't know. I guess you already understand this part. So you would have to wait for your colleagues to catch up. Please always endeavor to call up on your instructors if you're having difficulties at some point in your learning. So I made mention that we have the integer data type, we have the we have shorts, we have long, we have boolean, we have character. Please, so you guys should help me out. Which other one am I missing out? Which one? All right, float. Yeah, that's correct. And then, all right, double. Lawa, I will allow the student to speak. Allow the student to speak. Okay, please, someone should give me difference. Okay, I'll just put this one on top. I'll keep it on top. So someone should help me out with the difference between let's say short and integer. So these two. I don't want to be speaking all by myself today. So this is a recap, so you should already have something to. So what's the difference between these two now? Okay, yeah. Okay. All right. Any other person? So you all agree with that? All right. Okay, so someone wants to say something. Okay, I think that should be for okay, earlier, like I said earlier, the main difference between these three types, the main difference between these three types is basically their extent of precision. Precision. So this one short allows values from 1 to 127, I believe. It allows values from 1 to 127. So that is it for shorts. So if you not 127, it should be 128. Yeah. So if you're okay. Yeah, I was saying that short allows values from the range of 1 to 128. So if you want to use any other thing above that, if you want to use any other thing above that, you would have to go with integer or long. Do you understand? You'd have to use integer or long. And now these three are unique because they deal with whole numbers. If you look, I didn't put point zero here, otherwise it would complain. These three particularly have to do with whole numbers. There's no decimal part attached to it, like point anything. If I want to start making use of decimal places, I would have to use this last two, the float and the double. Is this one clear? Is anyone there? Okay. So if I want to make use of whole numbers that are greater than 127, I would have to use the integer data type to do that. I would have to use the integer data type. But integer data type has its own limit. So it's not expected that you exceed that limit. If you intend to exceed the limit, what you can do is to now what? To go ahead and use long to do whatever you want. So long is for whole numbers, but of more precision than integer. And to do that, I would I would simply give an example. This one. So the thing here now is because this by default, any number you're typing in Java is considered an integer, except you say otherwise. So our Java code now is understanding that this is an integer. And this other part of the code is a variable. You're trying to assign integer to a variable. It would complain, except you mention to it that I actually want to work with long. You tell it that I actually want to work with long. So it understands that everything here should be treated as long and no longer an integer. By default, Java uses integers for numbers, except you specify otherwise. All right. So I would come back to this too. So I want to deal with this one first. So for float, to write float in Java, IntelliJ is already suggesting to me if I want to write float. Yes, I want to write float. So what you can do is to just do this point, whatever. You saw the other time when we when we want to, so you have to specify to it that what we are dealing with now is no longer integer that I want to work with float, and you should treat it as float. So initially, when we wanted to write 3 points, when we wrote 2 point something here, it complained that you're trying to store a decimal place number or say float into short. So what I'm saying is, in essence, is that whatever that is on this right side should be the same thing with the data type you specify on this left side. So whatever that is on this right side, by putting L here, is telling me that it is long, that it is long that this thing is, and what's on the left side is also long. So this should align. So here, by doing it this way, I'm telling it that treat this as a floating point number, and you should assign it to this one. So difference between the double and the float is that this one double accepts more precision than float does. So that's this for this one. That's it for this three. Now Boolean. Now Boolean, I mentioned earlier that Boolean just has to do with true or false. You cannot. Yeah, you're saying something. Exact. Yeah. No, this can actually be anything. Float has to do with decimal. That's what you just said, right? Yeah. Float always has to do with decimal. Now let's check something. If I write this way, it will also be correct. Internally, what it will now consider this thing to be will be what? Can you guess? Obioma and Jennifer, any idea? Internally, what will you consider this thing to be? 3F. What would you consider it? Okay, okay, all right. So in mathematics, you understand that 3 is equivalent to 3.0. You understand that? Exactly. Yeah. So when you execute this code now, because of this f you put here, it will treat this thing as 3.0. So it will add zero point 0.0 behind it, and that's what it will work with, and not just exactly yes. But I can specifically put zero point 0.0 myself, and everything is still fine because everything on the right side and everything on the left side is expected to align. So if I decide that I don't want to put here, it would use its hands to convert it and assign it and assign zero point 0.0 to it. So that's it. Then for Boolean takes, I said it before, that it takes only two values, one or zero. Boolean doesn't take anything aside from one and zero. And in programming, one means true, zero means false. One means true, zero means false. You get. So when you're working with Boolean, you're only expected to assign either true or false. So these are the only two possible Boolean values we can have. So this one is just straightforward. Anytime in the future you want to make use of Boolean data type, it's expected that you're assigning either a true or you're assigning a false to the variable. Okay. Now character. So character in Java is simply the representation of data that has just one character. It could be anything, anything. It could be anything so long as it's one character. So it's treated as a character data type in Java. There will be a case where you need to make use of this character. If, for example, we have something like this, there are times where you want to know the characters that make up this. Let me not. Uh, there are times where you want to know the characters that make up this string. This is considered a string. Now, what's a string? Can anyone help me with that? Any idea? I call this a string. Does anyone know why? Yeah, that's correct. Double quotation shows that what we are about to work with is a string. What we are dealing with is a string. So string basically is a sequence of characters. I mentioned that character is just one, but now when we have plenty of them coupled up together this way, it's considered a string. Now you will not use just one quotation to do that. This is just one quotation mark. If you used to, it will mean something else. It would mean string. So if you want to work with string, you use double quote. But if you've written Java or Python before, either of these works. Either of them work. But in Java, it's not done like that. So anytime you want to use single quotes like this, that means you're working with characters. Anytime you want to use double quote like this, you're working with string. If I try to surround this thing with double quote now, it then means that I'm trying to store a string value into character. And I made it mention that everything on this right side must be of the type mentioned here. Now, I've created a string and now I want to store it in type character. It would complain to me that this, let's just look at what it says. So the required type is character because I made mention here that it's character that I'm about to supply you. Now it's telling us that the required type is character. Meanwhile, I am providing what? I'm providing string. So this pop-up we are seeing now is because we are using IntelliJ. That's one good part about using IntelliJ. If you're using another text editor that doesn't have this kind of dating functionality, it may not show you. Yeah, so often they will suggest to you one solution. They will suggest to you a solution at the bottom, what you could do. And they're telling us to change variable h type to string. Now, if I click on this, it will change this car here into string. Otherwise, I could just manually change this car myself and type in string. But if you click it, you see what it will help you do. It will change this type to character, and therefore it will no longer be string. But what I want is what? Car. So instead, what I will do is to just change the quotes. And remember, syntax is of importance. If I fail to not put this semicolon here, my statement has not finished. So it is still expecting you to put a semicolon to tell it that I'm done with this line of code. Yeah, and also in the assignment, I saw some of you that you are writing your code outside of this quotation mark, outside of this last closing parenthesis. That's like in here. So this is not expected. This is not expected. You writing anything outside of here is not valid. So you observe that you have an opening parenthesis for here, and if you go down, this is the corresponding closing tag. So this is the opening for this one, and this is the opening for this other one. So anything I'm going to be writing will be inside of this box. It shouldn't be outside of it or anything. Everything I'm going to be doing will be inside of this main. Everything will be inside of it. If you type outside, you will just be seeing red everywhere and you're IntelliJ. So everything should live inside of this code block. So this is called a codes block. So this is the opening parenthesis and this is the closing. So everything within inside the opening and closing is considered a code block. Yeah. So that is it. And if you observe, I've been typing this thing with small letter. This is small letter. This is small letter. I could have gone ahead to type it with capital letter and it still be okay. But the reason why we're sticking to these small letters, it is a practice. It is a convention. Now, this thing I call this something. Obioma, can you understand what? Can you help me remember what I called it? A, B, C. I called all of them something. Any ideas? Do you remember what I called them? She's here. This A, B, this letter now, letter A, letter B, letter C, letter T, letter F. Everything I put here before the data type short, I call them something. Do you remember what I called them? 1 second, please. Bukola, do you remember what I called them? This A, this B, this C, T, F, H, D. What did I call them? Bukola? Okay, no problem. So these letters, all of these letters that I put before the data type, that's letter A, letter B, letter C, letter T, F, all of them. What did I call them? Okay, okay. I called it variable. You understand? Yeah, I called it variable. Now they are called variables because this value assigned to it, that is 2, can change in the future. And now variables simply come from the word vary. It could vary. What this does is just like a pointer. It's holding a value. It's holding this value too for the moment. I can come in the future and decide that I want to change the value that it is holding. I want to change it to, let's say, 3. Now I've successfully updated the value of this A, which was, sorry, this is 3. This A, which was originally what? 2. I've successfully updated it to what? 3. Now if in the future I want to print out I want to print out the value of A, what it will print out on the console will be what? 3. So this is called a variable. This letter A, letter B, letter C, all of them are called variables because what? Their values, they just have to act as a container, a representation for 2 or 3, whatever. So in the first case, it was 2. Now it has varied towards 3. Yeah, the assignment I gave you guys was to read up on the variables. Now we'll be treating that in this class. Anyone can help me? What uh, um, naming? Okay, it was a naming convention, not variable. It was a naming convention. So you are asked to read up on it, and okay, I'll just go straight to tell you what it is. Now in programming, there are conventions used to assign variables or to name these names here. I could have actually called this thing. I could have actually started with small letter. I could have started with small letter, but there's a reason why this started with capital letter. There's a reason why this one started with small letter. There's a reason why this one started with small letter. If I change to this one being capital, or this one being small, or this one being capital, everything will still work fine. Everything will still work fine. So, so naming conventions, they are just ways in which we can assign in which we can define variables, in which we can write them, not just variables, classes too. So this here is considered a class. If you look, from the name here, it's called a class, but we get to class when the time is right. So this man here, I call this man. I could have called it main. So this other one, I, let's enter here. So this other one was called what? It was called main. 1 second. Okay, yeah. So this one's called main. So this one was called man. So this was out of my silliness. I could have called it anything, not just man. Anything basically. And I think okay, to create this, let me just show you how to create it. So you right click on this SRC and and go to new, and then what? Go to Java. Then you give it any name you want. Any name you want. So this is it. This is how that main or man came about. It's by me creating a new class. So generally classes start with capital letter. There's a reason for that. And having our classes start with capital letter is using what? The Pascal case convention. Pascal case. So there are three main conventions that are used. There are other ones. So we have Pascal, we have we have um we have camel case, and then there is snake case. So these are the three basic ones that are used in programming conventions. So these are it. So we have the Pascal case, we have the camel case, we have the snake case. Now the system that you use in naming this thing I called class, this man here, or this airplane, or this main, is what we call camel case. So in camel casing, the first letter of every word starts with capital letter. The first letter of every word starts with capital letter. And this convention is used when we want to define classes. So this big guy here is this one here is called class. This is the class name basically, man. So everything that is inside of this block of code is part of this class, man. Now the system we are using to name this thing is called the Pascal case. I could have written this in small letter, but you're not advised to do that in Java. So the idea is that if anyone wants to make use of your code, he sees and understands that anyone starting with capital letter is to be treated as a class. So examples of camel case could be let's say ident sorry identical twins. So this is a camel case example. Pascal case rather, not camel case. Everything I've been saying is for Pascal case. So the first letter of every word, I, T, starts with capital letter, and this system is used when defining our classes. And then there's one called camel case. So camel case is the one where the first letter of the first letter of the entire word is the one only in small letter. So if I'm to write this thing for the camel case correspondence of it, it will be something like this. So this is what camel case is like. So the very first one is small, and then every other word is capital. Every very first letter of every word is capital. So if I were to have more words, the first letter in each of those words will be capital. But but for the Pascal case, every single word starts with a capital case. So this system is used for naming variables. So that this basically is the reason why I've been writing everything I've been writing is small. So this is A, this is B, this is of course this is a letter of its own. So if I have to have more words, every other first letter of those words will start with capital. So that's the reason why this has been in small letter. This one has been in small letter. This one because these are variables. These are variables. All right. So we have another one. So this is snake case. So this system it's you mostly use it when you're writing programming like languages like Python. That's not to say you can't use it here, but just to stay with the convention, you just go with the flow and write the camel casing style and not the snake case. So in snake case, if I were to write the correspondence of this in snake case, it should be something like identical twins. So this is what snake case looks like. So this is also used for assigning variables. But in Java, if you're reading through Java code, this is most likely what you'll be seeing. This camel case. All right, all right. So, okay, okay. So these are the three systems of naming variables and classes in Java. Okay, okay. So I don't know if you guys have any questions so far. Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah, which? Mm, yeah. Mm. Okay, that's short integer long. Okay, okay. Okay. For now, I think it's best for you to just understand that anytime you are assigning whole numbers, right? Anytime you're assigning whole numbers, make use of this first three. Do you get? Does that make sense? It makes sense, but so anytime I'm assigning a whole number, just your mind should go to this first three. By default, you should be using integer. You get? But there are situations which you shouldn't worry about. You may never even need it for now, for your stage. You may not need it. There are situations where you may want to use uh, this other type. But if you're with time, this thing will make sense to you. Just forget about it. But for if you're signing any whole number now, what you expected to use is the integer. So just stick with this one now. I want to make use of whole number, so I want to make use of integer. You get? If you want to make use of decimal place numbers, then your mind should go to float or double. Okay. So if the thing is, okay, I'll just keep it at that. I'll keep it at that. So just understand the difference between these first three. The major difference and this last two is that this one doesn't accept decimal place values. It doesn't accept points anything. But float and double, they do accept decimal place values. Does anyone have any question? Okay, quickly, I want to introduce you guys to one other thing, and that's packaging in Python and in Java. Packaging. Did anyone join us again? Okay, just say the three of you. All right. So in Java, okay, Java basically is an exceptional language, basically, I would say, and it gives you the ability of arranging your codes for easy readability. It gives you that ability. So one way to show you that is that Java gives us the ability to create something that is called what packages. It gives us the ability to create what is called packages. So these three things here, it's okay, but it's not the best practice. You get these three things here are called classes. But if you're to keep up with the good practices, you are being advised to put them inside what's called a package. So to create a package, just right click on SRC, go to new and go to package and call this package anything you want. So packaging uses the first uses the camel case system. And in camel casing, if you look here, what's here? The first one is small letter. I would call this package, let's say a package. I'll just keep it at this. So inside of this package, I will do all of these things that I've done. All of these things that I've created here, they live inside packages. So package is like a collection of classes. So this is a class, this is a class, this is a class. I'll be happy if any of you come up in the next class and tell me what class is. I don't want to define what a class is yet, but understand that every of this one here, having this blue by the left side of it, is considered class. So if any of you come up in next class saying what a class is, I'll be happy. But for now, we are not dealing with classes. So after I've created this package now, I can go ahead and create whatever class I want to create inside of it. So I could call this, remember I said I could go with the camel case and everything will be fine. I could call this new class and everything will still be fine. Now I've created a class. But this one, this N here is small letter. And like I said, it's not a good practice. So I'll just delete this one. Or what you can do is, if you're getting used to your IntelliJ, you could understand how refactor works. So for that word you want to rename, what I want to do now is to rename this thing and make this N. Let me zoom in. Yeah. So what I want to do is to change this thing and make this small letter N to be what? Capital. So I'll quickly highlight the word and then do what? I'll right click and then I'll go down to this place called refactor. Let me do it again. I'll come here, I'll highlight, I'll right click and then go to refactor. And then under refactor, you see the option for rename. You click on rename. Now change what you want to change. I want to change this to N, capital N. So when you're done, you hit your enter. You observe that as I change this thing here, what was here to change. So any name you're seeing here is what's represented here. If you check through all of our classes, the name here is what this is. So these are the classes. The name here is what is here. So as I've changed this, I could have alternatively done that here. I could have right clicked and go to refactor and rename and then call it whatever name I want to call it. So I could change the name here, I could change the name here. So I'll right click, I'll go to not new, but you go down to refactor and tell it to rename. So I could call it, let's say, change name. And then after that, I'll tell it to refactor. So as I change the name here, it's updated here. So this my class now has the name change name. It could have been called anything basically. Now if you observe that this class is living inside this package I called a package, if you look up, you see that it's telling me that this the package you're working with is actually this package, a package. So anytime you're working with classes that are stored inside a package, the package the directory will be shown on top, basically. So this package is just to allow you to bundle your classes, into one particular place. I don't know if this has been making sense to any of you. Any questions so far? Any question, Bukola, Jennifer? Okay, a package is a collection of related classes. You understand? Exactly, it's a collection of classes. That's what it is. Exactly, yeah. So this is one package of this one. I can decide to create another package and give it another name. Call it new. Did any of you remember what I said about keywords in Java? Anyone? Bukola, Jennifer, other people. Anyone remember what I said about keywords in Java? Keywords. Any idea? Any idea? Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So they've been reserved. You cannot make use of it for any other purpose except what it was defined for. So these ones that are showing orange, that are orange in color, this public, this class, this package, all of them are reserved keywords. Yeah. So if you look, I typed NEW here and it's complaining. And it's telling us that invalid package name. It's impossible to create a Java class inside. So this is because new has been reserved in Java. New is used for a particular thing, and therefore you cannot make use of new for to create a package. But what I was going to type is a new package. But because IntelliJ was sensitive and I typed new, it's telling me not to go ahead and create this package name with new. But what I was going to do is to create a new package. All right. So this is a package of its own now, and this is another package of its own now. I can decide to carry these three things as they are. I'll just highlight three of them and do what? And right click. I could tell it to, is the option for move? Is the option for move? Looks like there's no option. But what you can do is to highlight the three of them and then drag and, 1 second, and then drag and what? Why this thing is behaving? Alright. So I'll just drag and do what? Drop inside of this package called move. So if you ask me some question, am I sure if I want to move? Now I'll tell it yes. I should go ahead and refactor. So every of those, if you look here now, inside of my SRC, you're not seeing any of those classes, the man, the main, or airplane. They are not anywhere here now. Instead, I've stored them inside packages. Instead, if you open the new package, you now see the three of them here. So if I go ahead to click this thing, you see the package name is shown on top. But before, when this was outside, I'll move it back to where it was before. So there's no package name shown on top because it's not inside any package. So that's it. So this airplane is standing on its own. It's not inside any package. This one is a package. This one is a package. But I want to keep everything inside the package, so I'll just move this one. So it will tell me to, am I sure if I want to move? I'll tell it yes, refactor. So if you observe, this thing has been showing us refactor and not move. And when I was renaming, it was showing me refactor and not just rename. So refactoring is basically like every other place I've called that particular file. You should change the class, the file path, basically. It will make sense later, but just understand for now that if you want to rename or if you want to move, what you see is refactor, not move or rename. So that's it. So these three things now are inside of this package, new package. So everything we'll be doing will be inside of each of these packages. Yeah. Any question? Any questions? Okay. All right. All right. So these basically are the two things I wanted us to discuss. Naming convention. That one is not any wahala, and packages. So I made mention of we having three main naming conventions: the snake case, the camel case, and the Pascal case. So the Pascal case or upper camel case, they call it upper because the first one is in uppercase. The first one is in uppercase. So this one is just camel case. But if you now put upper camel case, which is, let me just put it down here, upper camel case. So this one is just the raw camel case. But if you include upper on top, it tells you that the first one is also capitalized. So upper camel case or the Pascal case is for naming our classes, and the camel case is for naming our variable and packages. And And snake case is another way of naming our variables, but we won't be making use of it. So the camel case is what we'll be using to name your variables basically. Alright. Alright, so we've done packages and we've done the naming conventions. So I'll drop the assignments. Please endeavor to submit before the due date. Not all of you submitted before the due date in the last one. All these things are considered in grading you guys and keeping records till this program finishes. Please endeavor to submit and before the time elapses. Please, any question before we close out? Uh, I'm having I'm having difficulty hearing you. Can you just type type in the chat so I can read it? Or can anyone hear what she's saying? Because I can't. Uh, if you can type, I think it will be more helpful. Or you can message me privately in the chat because I want to close the class now. Is that fine, Bukola? Okay, no problem. And I'll see you guys. I'll drop the assignments in the chat, and the next class will be tomorrow morning, I guess. So the time and everything. Yeah. Okay, we'll communicate the time for you. We'll drop the time there. Yeah, yeah. And I have a nice day. Bye bye.